Let me ask you a question. How many times have you gone out of your way to buy and try to play a game that is completely outside of your comfort zone? I'm talking about something like maybe you're a real-time strategy player and you go out of your way to try a JRPG, or maybe you like first-person shooters and you're going out of your way to try a colony sim. Or maybe the only fighter that you've played pretty much since middle school is Super Smash Bros., and then you try to play an actual 2D fighter. If that last bit sounded a little bit familiar to you, then you've been paying attention, because that's exactly what's happened to me, and exactly what I think is happening to many people who are trying Guilty Gear for the first time. Almost 2 months ago now, Guilty Gear Strive came out on, I think, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC all at the same time, and it's the latest installment in the Guilty Gear franchise, something that I didn't even know existed until I met my friend Dev a couple years ago. He has a motto.
What's the motto?
It's play Guilty Gear. And I never really understood why that was something that he said so often until I finally started playing Guilty Gear Strive. Now I'm kind of really in love with it. Like I said, the last time that I was actually into a 2D fighting game was back in middle school when Soul Calibur 2. Soul Calibur 2 came out on the GameCube, and the only reason that I had bought that is because it was advertised as having Link in the game. Say what you will, we can all complain as much as we want about these pointless crossovers in games that, as fans, we might not think that they need to be there, but I'm proof that it works. At least younger me is proof that it works. And hey, maybe that's all you need to create a lifelong fan of fighting games. It didn't work for me, but I would be willing to bet there's some people out there who bought Soul Calibur 2 because Link was in it and are now lifelong fans of maybe not just Soul Calibur, but 2D fighting games in general. Before that, my experience was playing fighting games on the Super Nintendo with my uncle, and with the computer, and just button mashing my way to victory, not really knowing what I was doing. Even in middle school with Soul Calibur 2, I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of knew what I was doing. I had a few moves that I would, use a lot, kind of in a cheesy way. I wasn't actually strategizing or anything like that, but I at least knew better than to just mash. But I didn't know any strategy. I didn't even know what frame data meant, but I still enjoyed the game for what it was. At some point, I decided that 2D fighting games weren't really for me, especially since Super Smash Bros. Exists, and I've loved every single iteration of that game, even Brawl. And starting in 4, I started to get a little bit competitive, and now in Ultimate, I'm, trying to be even more competitive. Or at least I was, until I guess my excitement died away, and my friends that I play with stopped playing as much. Just, a lot of things happen. You live, you learn, your house burns down, and then things change. Life. Bye. But because of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I met my friend Dev, who, like I said, has a bit of an obsession with Guilty Gear. And because Strive was coming out soon, he kept talking it up. And then there was also somebody in my Discord talking it up. And then everybody on the internet was talking it up. And at some point, just so many different people from so many different points of view and avenues just all converged on me, unbeknownst to each other, to sell Guilty Gear Strive to me. I've been kind of afraid of getting into 2D fighting games. Just, the input complexity, the fact that I haven't been in this genre since middle school, and even then don't really know the nuances or ins and outs of anything that you're supposed to do in these games. Despite all that, I decided to buy it. But a big reason why is because this installment in particular it's making an effort to bring new people in, not just to the game or not just to the franchise of Guilty Gear, but to fighting games in general. They've made a big effort to make it approachable to people who are new to fighting games, like me. And my first time launching the game, it was weird. My first time launching this game was really weird because I came in not really expecting much, not expecting to enjoy it very much. And I went into the tutorial, and then I went into some of the training missions, and I learned a bit of the, vocabulary and controls and some of the mechanics. And then I think I left that play session not super impressed. Yeah, I think I left that play session not super impressed, and not sure if I was even gonna, stick around for the game. But I wasn't turned off of it either. So the next day or a couple days later, I don't remember which, I launched the game again, learned a little bit more, having rested and let the previous knowledge sink in, learned a little bit more, and then decided to go online and play arcade mode and put some of the things that I've learned to the test. And, that's immediately where I started enjoying myself. I still didn't know what I was doing at the time. But if you're playing a new genre, if you're playing a new game, you're not going to know exactly what you're doing immediately. You're going to have to give yourself the time and the kindness to be able to lose so you can learn. There's just so often I hear people say, I don't like this kind of game. I'm not good at it. And I've never liked that statement, because a lot of the times when somebody says something like that, it's about a type of game that they haven't played much, that they didn't find immediate success in. And I've been like that in the past, and I've said those same kind of things about 2D fighting games. And while I'm not, that good at Guilty Gear, I'm doing a lot better than I did when I first started. And I feel like I can play fighting games now because I've put in the time, and because I've been enjoying myself, and I've allowed myself the time and the effort to actually learn what's going on here. So because of the immense amount of peer pressure surrounding this game in particular, I am now a fan of not just Guilty Gear, but, maybe even more fighting games. Who knows what other fighting games I'll get into after this. I'm thinking about buying something called a hitbox, which is basically, most people, I think you probably know what a fight stick is. It's basically like a box, right? It's a box that has a few buttons on the right and then a stick on the left, so it emulates an arcade control stick. And that's really good because the D-pads on these controllers are not quite as responsive or as accurate as you would like, especially for someone like me who has a hard time doing this movement right here, which in my opinion is a very sadistic thing to want to ask for a player to do on a D-pad. So, I don't know, I played for like 4 hours last night, maybe 5, and I can't tell you how many times I lost because I tried to do that specific input, or maybe even an input like it, and just completely whiffed it because the D-pads are not good for that movement. But those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about now because I'm playing Guilty Gear. I want to spend a couple $100 on this specialized controller for a fighting game when I've never even been into fighting games? Yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, another reason I want one of those hitboxes. Oh, I forgot to finish explaining what a hitbox is. So you know what a fight stick is now, because I explained it. This is a really good video, and I've been doing a great job at explaining everything. I hope you're enjoying it. But you know what a fight stick is now. A hitbox is basically the same thing, except instead of an arcade stick on the left side, you have buttons for the D-pad. So that's not going to be good for just Guilty Gear and just fighting games. It'll also be really good for Kaizo Mario. I'm excited to put that to use now. I'm thinking I'm gonna buy one soon because now the more that I'm talking about it, the more I'm convincing myself that it's something that I need. Hey, go to patreon.com/IngeniusClown to help support me in my gaming addiction, so I can also make great content for you guys. Anyway, to gush about Guilty Gear some more, one of the big reasons that I'm really enjoying my time with it is not just because it's good or fun or exciting or beautiful with a great soundtrack and fun gameplay flow and interesting characters And Totsugeki! Not only does it have all that, but it has some of the most legitimately impressive online capability that I've ever seen. I know some people in my audience hate this word, but the netcode is just... oh. I have a friend in the Netherlands that I played with. Ping was over 100. Playing Super Smash Bros. With him, terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. It's like at least half a second of input lag on top of the just already bad Super Smash Bros. Online infrastructure. But playing Guilty Gear online with him felt like being in the same room. Like, that's incredible. It feels super responsive. My buttons work. Every once in a while, some rollback shenanigans will happen. But other than that, it feels so smooth and super playable. Like, you could play with just about anybody across the world with the way this netcode is implemented and still have a good time, as long as they're not a Wi-Fi warrior who's dropping frames every 2 seconds, because some of those exist. And then somebody in this very community who lives in Norway, I played against him as well, and it was, again, so smooth. So smooth. I do have some complaints with how the lobby system works and how the ranking system works and how bad I am at memorizing combos and how my muscle memory is constantly betraying me because I end up doing the same loops over and over again and getting read by my opponents who are clearly better than me. And while I'm not by any means awful at this game, I can see where I suck. And if I'm being honest, I think the only reason why I actually have some sort of ability to beat people in this game is because I played Super Smash Bros. For so long, and my ability to play neutral from that game has somehow translated to this game. Just by being able to, like, know how to read my opponents, or learn how to read my opponents, and you know, I started the process, at least in Smash Brothers, of figuring out how to learn what I need to learn, figuring out how to learn what I don't know. You know, that's what a lot of these competitive games are about, right? You have to be able to analyze yourself, look within, figure out where you can improve yourself. Don't blame the game. Don't blame the player, blame yourself. Kaizo Mario is full of a lot of that too, but in general, I think these are things that are going to help me with my own personal growth in real life as well. It's all a good exercise in putting the blame in the right place and accepting it in a healthy way such that you can isolate it and improve it. All of this because I went out of my way, due to an immense amount of peer pressure, to play a type of game that I normally don't, that I've always said that I do not really like. And yet here I am with 46.1 hours in Guilty Gear Strive over the past 2 months, which is a lot for me. Between YouTube, work, house stuff, socializing, D&D, that's a lot of time for me. Dyson Sphere Program. At least with Dyson Sphere Program, I could put on a terrible show on Netflix and let that go for the whole time and like kind of be multitasking. But with this, you know, it's just tunnel vision. Tunnel vision. You can't do anything but Guilty Gear. But that's going to be it for this video. I think what I'm going to do is go look at some more fight sticks and hitboxes and kind of see what I want. I have an idea, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't take too long to deliver. But if you could do me a favor and do a 632146H on that like button down there, I would greatly appreciate it, if you know what that means. Oh, that one's a deep cut. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I'm a fool, I know nothing. I take the road